Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike and this video is going to be about my top 15 all-time favorite eyeshadow palettes, because I thought we cannot do a month in which I talk about nothing but eyeshadow palettes and not talk about my current top 15 favorites. Some of these are long-standing favorites, some of these are a little bit more recent, some of these have been discontinued, some of these were limited edition. But if I had to pick from my full collection, the top 15 eyeshadow palettes that I'm like, I can't live without this would be them. So I do want to preface this by saying, like, hey, if you don't know anything about me yet, if this is the first video you're ever watching, welcome. My name is Maaike. I love eyeshadow palettes. I love eyeshadow. I prefer shimmers over mattes. And as you can see, I have a very pale complexion, and that definitely features or factors into my preferences when it comes to eyeshadow palettes. So maybe these aren't your favorites, but they are mine, and that's what we are discussing today. I will make sure to try and link as many of these in the description box down below, because I think maybe there's a few here that are a bit newer to me that I haven't reviewed yet over on my blog, but most of these I have reviews on with looks and swatches and all that jazz. So make sure you check that down below. Also, if you'd like to see what makeup I'm wearing today, then make sure you also check out the description box, because I always list it there. So let's just kick it off with a bang. I'm not really putting these in any order per se, but a lot of you, if you've watched my channel for a while, know that I have a very solid top 3 when it comes to eyeshadow palettes. And that top 3, it still hasn't changed. It still hasn't changed. So let's just talk about that top 3 first so we can get it out of the way. And this is where my pale complexion comes into play straight away, because one of my all-time favorite eyeshadow palettes is the Lorac Pro 3. And this is an eyeshadow palette that everybody hated on so much when it was released. And I was like, should I try it? And then I tried it, and I found out that this is the neutral eyeshadow palette for people with a cool to neutral undertone that are fair-skinned. There, I've said it. If you have anything deeper than like a medium tan complexion, this is not gonna work on you. This is going to get ashy. If you have a very warm and olivey undertone, this will also look very ashy. However, if you're pale like me and you have a cool to neutral undertone, you will find that this is a neutral eyeshadow palette that allows you to use every single shade in the palette. This was the first neutral palette where I felt I could use every single shade without turning everything into a smoky eye. Because very often, like, I can use every single shade, of course. However, when you have shades that pull too dark on your complexion, they always just end up looking like a very intense dark brown black shade. And that's just not very flattering on. So if you truly want to get depth and dimension out of a palette, then, and you're fair-skinned, you can sometimes struggle finding the right thing. This, look no further. This is my top recommendation when it comes to a neutral palette for fair skin. You have quite a few light shades. For me, these 3 shades here, clay, terracotta, and dark brown, are like my 3 favorite crease shades, together with cool taupe. Love that. In terms of shimmer, I really like light pewter, rose bronze, and dark mocha in here. A lot of people hate it on Medallion, but it just needs a bit of finger action for it to go on. Really lovely. You get to stunning inner corner highlight, like brow bone highlights as well. You get all the shades you could possibly need to blend things out that will work with your complexion. And then truffle and amethyst are just nice shades to add a little bit of a pop, either a little bit of a purpley pop or as a really stunning, like, shimmering bit of liner. I love every single shade in this palette. Jet black is probably the only shade I don't really use, but it's not a true black, which is why, again, I feel it works on me personally. So Lorac Pro 3, I love this palette. Of course, these had to make an appearance. These are old. I've had these for years, and you guys, I still reach for these all the time. I just do. When it comes to neutral eyeshadows, Yes, the Lorac Pro 3, but Urban Decay's Naked 2 and Naked 3 as well. The Naked 2 is probably one of my most used eyeshadow palettes. And of these three that I'm now showing you, I've always said, if these are discontinued or if I hit pan, I will buy a backup. They discontinued this. So guess what this lady did? I got myself a backup. Because I cannot imagine living without this. I just can't. And that's because this has just every single cool tone neutral that I could possibly want. It just does. It just does. Snake bite, I'm not sure, like it never really shows up very well in camera, but this has a huge dent. Suspect, Pistol, Verve, YDK, the rose gold of all rose golds, like, oh, love it. And I have also really liked Chopper all this time. You can see that that has a big dent too. I still reach for this all the time. The quality hasn't changed of this, even though this is one of the oldest eyeshadow palettes I have in my collection. Urban Decay Naked 2. I still love you. I still do. And in the same vein, the Naked 3, this is not yet discontinued, but I'm pretty sure that since they're getting rid of all these older palettes, that this is going to disappear, I think, next. That's my expectation. This eyeshadow palette, I was definitely reaching for a lot more at first, and then I sort of went back to the Naked 2 again, and I'm now currently using that a bit more. But in here as well, like Mugshot, this shade right here, I love. And also Trick is a really nice rose gold. I know a lot of people didn't like this palette because it made them look very sickly. And I know that a lot of people don't like the fact that this and also the Urban Decay Naked 2 have a lot of shimmer. I already mentioned I prefer shimmer over mattes. So for me, that's not an issue. But again, if you're fair, if you have a cool undertone, this will not look ashy. This will not make you look ill. It will make your eyes look very nice and neutral for like that everyday kind of look that you can wear to the office and it will be fine. And you know, even though I know I also like color, we also have colorful things coming up, don't worry, but I love other things as well that are a bit more neutral. So let's just talk about ABH's Soft Glam. I was umming and ahhing between the Sultry and this one. And the Norvina. Like, I like all three, I really do. I like a lot of my Anastasia palettes, and I really think that in terms of formula, this is probably one of their best ones. And the reason why I decided to put this in here is because I feel that this is like Naked 3, but if you have a warmer undertone or if you're deeper. And I really like this because everything is a little bit rosy. And that's what I like about this. I didn't get this at first because I thought it was going to be too dark and sultry on me and like too smoky eyes, but it's not. I found, yes, this is a little bit more makeup-y than the Naked 3. For me, the Naked 3 is truly neutral. Like, I can wear it to any occasion, doesn't matter, even if I need to go somewhere where wearing a lot of makeup isn't a thing, I can wear that. This is for the days where I want to go for something a bit more glam. Soft glam, it's in the name. This is like just a bit more amped up if I'm feeling like, you know, those days where you're just feeling yourself and you're like, okay, today I want to be the girl boss that I am. Then you go for this kind of palette, at least in my book. The only shade I could really do without in here is Noir. Cypress Umber is one of my favorite shades also in the Modern Renaissance, so I love that. But Mulberry, that's my favorite shade. And then Rose Pink and Sultry, these two shimmers I love. I love Glistening, even though I don't like golds, but I like that one. I like these three. Well, Burnt Orange isn't really my favorite, but these two mattes here I like, and I really like Dusty Rose. And this next palette you can no longer get because this was unfortunately limited edition, but my Too Faced White Chocolate Bar. I was thinking if I had to pick a Too Faced eyeshadow palette, like I still really like their quality, but this is quite possibly the one that I now prefer. I think if I'd have done this video like a year or two ago, it would have probably featured the Chocolate Bonbons because that's like one of my favorite cool toned eyeshadow palettes. But this again, I'm fair. This is not gonna work on you if you have anything deeper than a light skin tone even. Like, this is even worse than the Lorac Pro 3. Like, this, in terms of being great for fair skinned people, is one of the best palettes. And again, it got a lot of slack because people were saying, it looks gray, it looks ashy, it doesn't work on me, it doesn't show up. Sometimes not all products are made for you. And this is just one of those palettes that I feel isn't made for people with very deep skin tones. This is just a fair girl. This is just a fair-skinned person's dream. It just is. The only shade I could do without is perhaps Black Sugar. That's a black with glitter. Not my favorite. These two shimmers are stunning. You get some like peaches over here. These 4 shades are stunning. Just stunning. You get all of the mattes that you could want to do a very neutral eye with interesting shimmers. And then you get this mint green and that lavender pop. And those pop if you are pale skinned. And then I wanted to talk about what I like to call neutrals with a twist, because even though I like colorful eyeshadow, and you will see in a minute that there are a couple of very colorful eyeshadow palettes that I love, just love with a big L, but I really like when a neutral palette, yes, it can be just neutral like the ones we just talked about, but I really like it if a neutral palette has something to make it more interesting. And the first palette I wanted to show in that category is the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk. Now, if you know anything about me, then you know that I'm not a big fan of warm-toned eyeshadow palettes. Not a big fan, but in terms of warm tones, this is one of my favorite palettes. And the reason for that is that it does have some very muted, cool toned, like neutrally kind of shades over in this side of the palette. Cashmere. Stunning. Together with musk, like this in the crease, that all over the lid, you've got yourself a look. But then it has these fiery shades down here with Turkish Delight and Saffron and Blazing. And then here also Amber and Blood Moon. I love Blood Moon all over the lid. It's so stunning. And then Oud is really nice to deepen things up, but it's not too dark. So again, warm tones that work on a fair complexion for sure. And you get these 4 stunning like purpley shades with some like toppery, flippy kind of shades. So stunning. I could just do without the pressed glitter in here, but that's why I actually bought this Huda Beauty first, because this was the one that didn't have that many pressed glitters. So that's why I picked this over any of the other palettes that were out at the time. But I still, till this day, love this palette for the color story that it has and how it just really also combines warmth with purple, and that I feel is just, it's just a match made in heaven. I love the undertones in this. This has stunning quality, which is why it's in my top 15. Another palette that I have to put in here is the Natasha Denona Gold palette. I've been raving about this ever since I bought it and tried it, because I finally understood why Natasha Denona eyeshadows are A, expensive, and B, so much raved about. And what I appreciate about this palette so much is that you get very nice texture in this. I've said that several times, but a lot of the shimmers that you get in here can really transform a look depending on how you put things together. And I love when a palette just gives me versatility. This is by far one of the most versatile eyeshadow palettes in my entire makeup collection, and I love it for it. It gives you a nice little like pop of like tealy greens over here. You get mustards, you get neutral browns, and then you get these stunning, like more neutral shimmers to go with it. I just don't really like that gold in the center, but everything else works on me really, really well. Kava is my favorite shade in this palette. I just love it. I really, really do. And then last in this category of like neutrals with a twist, I wanted to feature something that I tried fairly recently. This is the Venus XL II by Limecrime. And I think I tried this mainly in the springtime. And this is like one of those perfect springtime palettes. And I remember when this came out, a lot of people were like, of course, you see that really bright packaging, and everybody was very disappointed that that's not what you got inside. And I get why people were disappointed about that, but I think a lot of people were writing off this palette for absolutely no reason. Again, like the Too Faced White Chocolate Bar, and the Naked 3 and the Lorac Pro 3, this is a palette for people with a fair skin tone. I'm gonna say it again. This is a stunning, stunning, more cool tone neutral leading palette. You really only get this and this bit of warmth, and everything else is more neutral or cool tone leaning, especially the greens that are in here. So again, if you have a very warm undertone, a lot of these things are going to look very ashy on you because they just kind of like, just pale literally against your complexion, and especially if you have a deeper complexion. However, if you're fair like me and you have a cool tone neutral undertone, these are really going to complement your complexion. And I really loved every single look that I did with this. I just did. You get some really stunning shimmers. I know not everybody likes Limecrime shimmers, but I love how this is buildable and just easy to use. This is definitely a neutral eyeshadow palette that has some of the rosiness that I love in my Naked 3, but then you get some interesting greens thrown in the mix as well. Locust is probably my favorite shade. There isn't a single shade in this palette that I don't like. So we're gonna stay in the neutral realms for a minute because I would like to talk about some cool tone stuff as well, because lately I've been really sort of like trying more cool tone neutrals and really trying that out. And I love my Naked 2, I do, but that's neutral everyday cool tones. However, cool tones can also do some other things, and I think that the Limecrime Venus Immortalis that came out last year, I don't think you can still get it. It's very difficult to find at the moment. I think maybe the official Limecrime website might have it, but that's a little bit difficult for me to get things from. A lot of people were having problems with this, getting heartpan. Mine was absolutely fine. Like, I've had this for like 9 months now and I haven't even had heartburn yet. Use it several times and no issues. Of course, your eye is drawn into Echo and that shade right there, which is called Hail. So the two really gorgeous foily shimmers. But I love how this is cool toned. It's neutral. But if you want, you can turn this smoky. You can make this more everyday. So you have that plum over here to give a little bit of color as well. So I feel that for an 8-pan palette, you get everything you could possibly want. The only shade I could do without in this one is Marble, because that's a white with quite flaky shimmers. However, you can use it in the inner corner just fine and it works. It's just that if I had to pick a cool tone palette in my eyeshadow palette collection that I love the most, it would be this one. The Nabla Cutie Platinum is quite similar to this, I find, but that has a bit more warmth to it, so it may be more perfect for people with a more warm undertone. Just saying, because you can make that with a bit more warm tone leaning, whereas this is completely cool. Also in the cool tone category, I have to mention my BH Cosmetics Love in London palette. I tried this because I wanted to try some other BH formula and color stories because I wasn't entirely sure about the brand, and this just blew me away. This taupe is stunning. You get this like really nice blue, this gray tone that is a bit more blue. I love these kind of shades for smoky eyes, just so you know. The only thing that really makes it leaning a bit more warm toned is this gold right here, but everything else is either a bit rosy or a bit taupey or whatever, and I love these four mattes at the bottom. It's a stunning eyeshadow palette, and that's why I wanted to put it in here as a more cool toned option as well, because you know how I feel about cool tones, and by now I've tried a couple of other things, and these two palettes have beaten my Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons for sure. Still love that palette, but these I like a little bit better in terms of quality. Now, you know we also need to talk about the grungy stuff, because I love grungy eyeshadow palettes. And I can't say enough love about the Melt Marte palette. It's been discontinued. It was limited edition, apparently. But this is just the grungy color story of my dreams. It just is. You get these like greens, teals into navies, and then into these wine colors, into a red. I can do without that champagne-y, goldy shimmer at the end. I don't think it really goes with what a lot of this palette has to offer, but these shades, like, if you have brown eyes like me, it just makes your brown eyes pop. Is it very pale girl friendly? these shades are a little bit deep and dark and they're a little bit out there perhaps, but they are really, really lovely shades. The quality of this is amazing. I loved it. Plus, it's a little bit more colorful as well, you know, with those grungy navy shades. I love a good navy smoky eye. And this palette, navy smoky eye. Like, love it. And of course, ABH's Subculture. I think I featured this in a favorites video before because this still, till this day, is one of the most unique color stories that has ever been put on the market. This palette is now also becoming harder to find. However, if you check out the European Anastasia website, which I think is just .co.uk, they very often have palettes that everybody says is discontinued. I think they still sell the Prism. Just saying. So if you're looking for an Anastasia website that still stocks it, then try the European one. I believe they ship internationally, so you can still get it if you'd like. But yeah, let's talk about Subculture. Oh, I love this palette to death. I know it got a lot of slack for not being great. However, I got mine a lot later than the initial release, so I didn't get that super powdery formula, and I think that that's really helped with my love for this palette. I love the teal, even though it's the hardest eyeshadow in the entire palette to work with. The only gripe I have with this is that it doesn't have a lot of shimmer. I would have liked to see more shimmers in this. However, when I was using it last fall, I was pairing this with a lot of my very grungy multi-chromes from Divina and Cliona, and it worked lovely. So if I just I love pulling this in with multi-chromes and duochromes because I feel that the undertones of these shadows go really lovely with it. But yeah, I just love all these grungy tones that it has, man. I just do. And I only have 3 more eyeshadow palettes left, and these are the more colorful things. You probably saw this coming, but one of my favorite Juvia's Place palettes is the Tribe. Juvia's Place is one of my favorite eyeshadow palette brands, but for me, the Tribe just takes the cake again. It has these really nice, almost grungy shades as well. This could have gone in the other category, but for me, these greens, and then with that bright shade, these 2 duochromes, because these aren't just like a champagne and a bronze. These have a green flip to them, and I love that mustardy shade. I skipped the oranges most of the time. I could have done without that, but this, one of my favorite all-time eyeshadow palettes for sure, and so far Juvia's Place hasn't come out with anything to top it, I feel. I mean, it's great quality, but in terms of color story, I just prefer this. And my love for green and blue eyeshadow continues because I wanted to put a blue-green palette in here as well. And I think the Ace Beauty has to be my favorite because, again, it also has some teals, it's got a navy, it's got some depth, it's got some dimension to it. It's got a good ratio between mattes and shimmers, I feel. Stellar quality in terms of pigmentation and all that. However, this is not for the faint of heart. This is the kind of eyeshadow formula that just kind of like goes on super vibrantly and then you just need to blend like crazy. That's not always my favorite. I prefer something that's a bit more buildable, but this is my favorite blue-green palette in my eyeshadow palette collection, and this is just one of my favorite color stories. This palette just makes me happy. And then last but not least, I wanted to feature some brights in here as well because I love a good bright eyeshadow look or lipstick or something. Like, I like there to be a fun bright pop of something, and I was thinking, what should I put in here? And I was like, I just need to feature the September Rose Slush palette. I keep raving about this palette because I love it so much, because I just feel that in terms of bright, again, if you have a fair skin tone, brights can look a little stark, especially if it's like a full rainbow color story. But then I tried this, and in case you're wondering, if you see the little icon of my channel, like the little picture that it has there, that look was done with this eyeshadow palette. And it's still, till this day, one of my favorite ever eye looks that I've ever created on myself, and it was done with this palette. So I knew I had to mention it here. This is a bright eyeshadow palette that is just ticking all the boxes. It's a bit more like, it's rainbow, but it's not like very sort of primary rainbow colors, if you'd like. It's much more like pastel-y, lighter up here, and then more vibrant, more neon sometimes, especially like this orange. I mean, my camera can't even pick up how bright that is. This pink as well. And that's one of the things, it has this really stunning cornflower blue shade. leaning very periwinkle, which is one of my other favorite shades to wear. So yeah, I just feel that this palette has all the bright shades I could possibly ever want. And this, if you just pull this in with some of the neutrals and put it as a pop of color on the lid, it will just see you through the day. And even if you put some of these brights together, it's really lovely. It's got lovely quality. There's maybe 1 or 2 dud shades in this, but I feel that there's not a single brand that is currently doing a color story like this on the market, which is why it had to get a mention here. Righty, so those were my top 10, 15 eyeshadow palettes that I wanted to share with you today. Let me know in a comment down below if that came as a surprise, if there was anything in here that you couldn't predict. I would love to know, because I think some people would have been able to guess oh yeah, she will have put that in or she will have put that in. But yeah, I hope this was informative for you. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I've got lots more coming your way. I'm not exactly sure when I'm posting this. This could actually be one of the last videos to go live this month. But yeah, in case you did miss it, I am posting only eyeshadow palette related content this month, in the month of August, and I'm finishing the month off with my eyeshadow palette collection video. So I hope you'd like to stay tuned for that. I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye!